sometimes I just nip for a quick wee and then come back, or but I always stay in bed. I always try and stay in bed. I'm up for easily for 7 o'clock every day. So the answer is I don't get much sleep. That's why I've got these big bags under my eyes.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to another British English conversation with my mate, Steve. So let's get straight into it. Steve, how are you doing? How have you been?
I'm tickety-boo, thanks, Lewis. How lovely to see you, and thanks for inviting me onto your channel. How are you doing today?
I'm all right. I'm tickety-boo as well. A nice advanced British English slang way of saying, yeah, I'm doing well. I'm all good. I'm on top of the world. But I mentioned on my podcast a week ago, more or less, that I thought spring had arrived. It was 18 degrees here in Brussels. The sun was out and I went for a walk and I was just wearing short sleeves, a t-shirt. And I was like, wow, I need to get my shades on. I need to get my sunglasses on. And 1 week later, it's back to reality, and it's cold, it's wet, it's a bit depressing. So it appears spring came and it's already gone.
I thought spring had sprung, and it hadn't sprung at all. It stayed exactly where it was. I'm more in the. I'm not sure if this phrase is particular to the north, but I'm what you call nesh. I feel the cold more than a lot of other people. So when everyone else has taken their coats off, I'm always the last one to take my coat off. Particularly in my hands and my feet, I feel the cold. It's probably my circulation, but I've always had it since I was a child. So people would describe me as being nesh. Do you know that phrase?
I know it. I wouldn't use it that often, but some people will use it. And I do think it's quite common in slang from the north in different cities. And to be honest, I'm a bit nesh as well. And it was when I was like maybe 15 when I started to suffer from this poor circulation, in particular at the end of your fingers and your toes, where even if it's not that cold, I'll be outside and it's maybe, I don't know, 10 degrees. And I'll see that like the ends of my fingers will be a little bit like red or a bit purple or a bit blue. And I think the term for this like disorder or illness is Raynaud's disease. And it's nothing that really bothers me, to be honest. But it's strange because I also get quite cold quite easily when it's 10 degrees, 5 degrees, or 0 degrees. But then the opposite also happens, where if it's 25, 30 degrees, then I'm absolutely sweating buckets. So my system, my body just can't handle it.
Yeah. Well, they say cold hands, warm heart. We must be very warm-hearted people.
That's it. That must be it. All right, let's get started with the plan of this conversation, which, to be honest, isn't much of a plan. I warned Steve that I hadn't really got round to organizing anything for this conversation. Nice phrasal verb, get round to plus ing is like to find the time to do something. So I've been busy, I've been snowed under, I've been swamped, so I haven't really got round to preparing a PowerPoint or a plan. But I do have a lovely website which generates random conversation questions. So that's what we're going to do. I'll share my screen, press a button, a random conversation question will pop up, it will appear, and we will do our best to think on our feet, adapt, and answer it. So, Steve, how does that sound for you?
I'm worried. I'm worried about thinking on my feet. I don't think that quickly these days. But I'll
I
give it a
think you
go.
do.
I'll give it a go.
I reckon you'll nail it. You'll smash it. You'll be a natural. So let's begin with the first one. And let me show you this website as well. So as you can see, if you are watching this, you can see in the middle of the screen, it says press start to begin. So I'm going to do it. I'm going to click on that button. And this is the first question. Steve, how much sleep do you usually get? And is it enough?
I don't sleep well. Sometimes I talk about it on my YouTube channel, how bad my sleep is. And sometimes I like to answer every single comment. I know it's very strange and unusual, but I like doing it. And sometimes people will get replies, and as soon as they've typed, and they'll say, "Just a minute, isn't it 3 o'clock in the morning?" And I'll go, "I can't sleep. This gives me something to do." I was chatting with someone at 5:30 this morning, so no, I don't sleep well, to be honest. I go to bed usually around 11:15, 11 o'clock on an average night, and I always wake up about 4 o'clock. Always 4 in the morning. Sometimes I just nip for a quick wee and then come back, or but I always stay in bed. I always try and stay in bed. I'm up for easily for 7 o'clock every day. So the answer is I don't get much sleep. That's why I've got these big bags under my eyes.
You can't see any bags. Come on. And to be honest, I don't have this problem, but I do sometimes have kind of the opposite problem where it takes me quite a long time sometimes to fall asleep. Because when I'm in bed trying to fall asleep, that's when I get thinking about random things, what I've got to do the next day, what I have done the day that's just ending. But then usually when I fall asleep, I am fast asleep and I'll only wake up if, I don't know, there's a noise. And then I think, oh, maybe I could just nip to the loo. I could just pop to the toilet, go for a quick wee, and then head back to bed. But yeah, I'm sure as I get older, the quality of my sleep is going to go downhill.
I just envy people who, it's called in English sleeping like a log, isn't it? And I know people who sleep like a log, and I'm so envious of it.
If only, if only. Now, next question. So,
Okay,
Steve,
this one's for you.
this one is for
Show me,
me.
show me,
So,
show me.
over to you.
That's the same question. Press the button.
Ah,
Come
thank
on,
you for
Lewis.
reminding me. I had one job, didn't I? I had one
One
job.
job and you
Just
failed. You set
press
the
the
bar
button.
low and failed to meet it.
Yeah, we can only get better. The only way is up. So, how about this one?
Okay. Oh, that's an interesting one. If you're not enjoying a book, do you still try to finish it?
Now, it might be interesting, and some people might have heard me talking about this topic a couple of weeks ago
I know
because
what you're going to say.
on the podcast, I was talking all about books and reading, going over some expressions and stuff like that. And I was mentioning that I'm not really a bookworm. I'm not really into reading. So in recent years, I've practically given up reading. And I know it doesn't sound good. I know it's not what people should do, but I just can't be bothered reading anymore. I've tried. I know it's not really my thing. And during the pandemic, this was the last time that I was trying to get into reading. And to be honest, I wasn't enjoying the books that I was reading. I was just forcing myself to read them to improve my Spanish. But because I'm a bit stubborn, I didn't want to give up. I'm a bit like hard headed. I was like, all right, I've started it, so I'm going to finish it. But then when I did finish it, it was like, oh, thank God that's over. And then I didn't pick up a
Yeah,
book after that for a long time. But yeah, I'm not much of a bookworm. Steve, are you?
I am. I go through at least one book a week.
Okay,
Um,
wow.
Probably one of the reasons why I don't sleep so well, really. Um, that was an interesting expression. You said, I've started to all finish. And do you remember uh, a TV quiz show called Mastermind?
Yeah, yeah.
And a long time ago, before the the current quiz master who hosts it now. There was a guy, an Icelandic man. He used to live in Scotland called Magnus Magnusson. And he was probably the most famous quiz master on TV. And he, when he was asking his questions, when the time ran out, a buzzer would go. So he'd be going, and what is the capital? Beep, 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 beep. And he'd go, I've started, so I'll finish. And it became into common line. The syntax isn't quite right in that phrase, but it's really, really used all the time. I've started, so I'll finish. Can I help you with the washing up? I've started, so I'll finish. And we use that. And it all comes back to that Icelandic man who used to be on our television.
It's like, if you've started something, you might as well finish it, in my opinion. I don't want to give up. And I'm not.
No, I don't
person...
either. But some books are just dreadful. Sometimes I'm 3 chapters in and I think, oh, God, this is just terrible. So I don't often give up on books, but I have been known to.
And if you are a bookworm, I'm sure people will be eager to find out a little bit more, given that I can't really contribute much in this matter. But you get through a book a week. That's quite a lot. Has it always been the case? Have you always been a big reader?
Yes, when I was little. I was a good boy when I was little. I wasn't naughty. Do you know, I wasn't, I was quite bright. So I was never in trouble at school except for not paying attention because the classes were a little slow for me. And at home, I never got into any bother. That's a nice English word, isn't it? I never got into any bother. Never caused any problems for my parents, I don't think. They never said I did. The only time I ever got shouted at was because at night time I would read and not go to sleep. And at that time, of course, I was reading comics. So I used to go to a jumble sale. And I'm not sure you have jumble sales anymore. We used to have them in community halls, church halls, that type of thing. And people would rent a table. And on a Saturday or a Sunday, well, I suppose not a Sunday if it was a church, but there was a day and you would go and they would sell all kinds of second-hand things. And often they would sell books and comics. So whereas a comic might cost, I don't know, 2D, because I was a child, so it was a different currency then, It was 2D, the equivalent of 2 pennies. I get for 5 pennies, I might be able to get 20 comics, and they'd all be wrapped up in an elastic band. So they'd roll the comics up and put an elastic band around them like this. And that would be like, I'd get 4, 5 times as many, and I'd be going home with my pocket money's worth of comics. And that night I'd be under the covers with a torch so my mum and dad couldn't see the light, reading. No wonder I've got bad eyes. So it started then and it's always gone on. I like reading.
I mean, I think if you're going to misbehave in any way, the best way of misbehaving is by reading too much.
Yeah. I'm pathetic, really. I was never a rebel. Even in my teens, I was never really a rebel.
You never stepped out of line, you always did what you were told just about, and you didn't get into much bother, as you said. And to get into bother is another way of just saying to get into trouble. If your parents are telling you off.
What about you? If you were your own parent, if you were your father when you were a teen, would you have thought, or would you have thought, oh?
I mean, to be honest, I was quite similar to you, not in the reading aspect, but I was always kind of like, not super intelligent, not super smart or clever or bright, but I wasn't dumb either. I wasn't stupid. I'd say I was always just about above average in most subjects, and I was relatively sociable. I got on with most people, I could hit it off with some people and have a good relationship with them. I didn't really misbehave that much. I don't know, try to deliberately rebel against my mum and dad. So I'm not saying that I was perfect or I was like the best behaved kid in the world, but I think there were very few times that I can remember that my mum and dad actually told me off. Maybe if I had a sleepover and my friends came round and would be making a lot of noise in the middle of the night, and I'd remember that my dad had come storming down the stairs and be like, all right, come on, guys, it's 1 o'clock in the morning. Get to bed. I'm trying to get to sleep. I've got to wake up early and go to work in the morning. But I mean, boys will be boys, as they say. So if you have a group of mates, you're going to make noise, of course. And even
Yeah.
as I got older, being a teenager, I didn't really get told off too much. I didn't fail any subjects. I ended up getting relatively good marks. I went to uni. So I followed this stereotypical path where, of course, there were times when maybe I had a bit of a house party if my parents went away. But I think it's just a part of growing up that you're going to do these things. And if you were a parent, you might be a bit concerned if your son or daughter didn't do these things because you'd be like, okay, have they got friends? I'm a bit concerned about them.
Yeah. Strangely, I was talking to one of my private students just yesterday, and it's the youngest person I've ever taught. She's 17, 18. And oh, so bright. She's from an Asian country, so clever. And it's when I ask things like, well, do you know at the start of the lessons? I'm sure when you're giving private lessons, it's the same. Say, oh, how have you been? What have you been doing? Tell me, talk about the past. What have you done last week? And it was always, I get up, I study, I go to work, I go to school, I come home, I study. When's the last time you went out with your friends, and just played, just hung around? Oh, I went to Starbucks. Oh, that's okay. With your friends? Yes, went to Starbucks. And what did you talk about? Oh, we didn't talk. We took our school books and we studied. And I thought that is so different. I have a niece the same sort of age, and it's like chalk and cheese, the contrast between them. It's a nice English idiom, I guess that is. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
it's that we use when we're comparing two things that are so different, it's chalk and cheese. And they are, and it's just a different culture. You know, education is everything. And well, education is important in the UK, but having fun and growing up and making those mistakes you're supposed to make is important as well. So it's a new world for me, this teaching online and being able to have a peek at other cultures. I'm sure you find the same thing.
No, absolutely. Of course, generally speaking, Europeans or South Americans, we tend to have a lot of things in common of going out, drinking, going to parties, etc. And then, of course, the overall stereotype from some Asian countries is more to focus on studies, make sure you get high marks, high grades, go to uni. And I mean, I respect these people absolutely. And I wish I could have been so studious when I was their age, because then you will probably reap the rewards in the future by getting maybe a higher paid job, more professional experience and opportunities. But yeah, as you mentioned, it's like chalk and cheese. And another expression to add to this, which I was thinking of, is that education, and in particular, formal education, isn't the be all and end all. It's not absolutely everything. Because I think
Yeah.
you learn a lot through life experiences and through work experiences. And ultimately, when you're in your 20s, 30s, 40s, nobody really cares what marks you got at school or uni or what you did for your degree. What
Yeah,
matters is what you've actually accomplished, what you've achieved in the work life sphere, let's say. So, yeah, education
absolutely.
isn't the be all and end all.
It's certainly not. Do you know,
Perfect. All right.
stories for me, it's about stories. It's about be able to sit down and think, oh, do you remember when I did this? Oh, I did that as well. Oh, what I did was, and it's them little stories. I want to fill my life with them. I don't want certificates to hang on my wall. I admire people for having them, that dedication like you do. I don't care. I don't care. That's the long and the short of it.
You couldn't care less.
I couldn't care less.
Perfect. All right. Good little chat. Let's move on to the next question. And now it's my turn to remember to press the button. And I'm going to ask you this question. So let's see what it is. Talking about stories. We can maybe skip this one a little bit quickly, but the question is, what's the biggest story in the news at the moment?
This one touches a little close to home for me, and it's because of it's quite easy to get in touch with me. You Google Steve Mack, English teacher, and there's a variety of ways you can get in touch with me. And certainly won't be breaking any confidence to say that I've been corresponding with people who are involved in the current problems in the Middle East on both sides. And that's the biggest news. There's this person called Donald Trump, and he's decided the world's not quite the way that he thinks it should be. And he's got himself into a position where he can actually affect people's lives. In fact, he can make people die if he chooses to. I don't understand his mentality because it's not mine. But he's got himself to that position of power. It's incredible to me. I don't understand what's going on. Like so many other people in the world. So if you ask me what's the biggest story, how can there be a bigger story than that?
Exactly. Now, feel free to be honest, because I'm very honest with my political views on my channel as well. Because, I think people from different ideologies and opinions should, of course, chat and discuss and try to maybe not even reach an agreement, but just hear out the other point of view in general between right and left. I think the more we share how we're feeling, the closer we will become. But of course, with what's going on at the moment, with this war, invasion, operation, call it what you like, in Iran, it's horrifying. It's terrible. And I'm definitely not a fan of Donald Trump. And I don't understand how he got to where he is at the moment. But I'm hoping that the next couple of years pass by as quickly as possible, so then he can leave office, and hopefully the replacement will be somebody who tells the truth, doesn't manipulate people, and doesn't attack innocent people. Of course, I will say that the regime in Iran has, of course, committed atrocities in recent weeks, months, years, and decades. But of course, I just want to send all of my love to anybody who might be affected in this part of the world or anywhere else where you might be suffering from, I don't know, attacks, from aggression, from violence, because it's horrible. And I think we can all agree on the fact that the world is a much better place when we focus on love and not war, and we try to achieve peace rather than violence and attacks. And I have a student who is Iranian as well, and she is currently in Iran. And I feel terrible for anybody who is caught up in the middle of this big news story, because it's horrible and it's traumatic. So lots of love to anyone out there who's been affected by this conflict or any other conflict for that matter.
I think all we're saying is give peace a chance.
Exactly. Peace and love. That's the way forward. All right. That was
Another question. Let's move on.
A deep question, but hey, we were thinking on our feet, and I'm glad we see eye to eye. Peace and love is the way forward. So next question, and I will
Oh,
remember.
it's for you. It's for you. This is
Yeah,
yours.
I will remember to press the button. All right, next one.
Oh, interesting again. These are good questions. How do you discover new music? Oh, let me just have a quick word on pronunciation because it's one of my things that I always talk about. Is that do you? And it comes up so often in English, that do you. And the two vowel sounds are not often pronounced in natural fast English. So you've got two choices. You can use the schwa sound, which is a little sound, so it becomes do you. How do you discover new music? Or you can just do a simple j sound. How do you discover new music? Sorry, I went into English teacher mode then. But every time I see do you, I I always say we English native speakers, we just never say do you. How do you discover new music? No, how do you discover new music? So go on, answer away, Lewis.
Perfect. No. The more little grammar and English teacher moments, the better. The more expressions we teach, the more pronunciation we teach, the better for sure. So, how do I discover new music? Well, on Spotify, there is a really cool feature. And to be honest, I probably listen to more podcasts than music, but I also love listening to music as well. In particular, if I'm going for a run, then I kind of need some music to keep me going rather than listening to podcasts about different topics. And every week, Spotify automatically creates a new playlist of music that the algorithm thinks I might like based on the music that I listen to. So I listen to a little bit of everything, to be honest. And usually I don't listen to new music. Usually it's the old classics, lots of bangers from Queen, from Oasis, from Arctic Monkeys. I'd say I'm more into rock and indie than any other genre, but I also sometimes listen to music in Spanish, in Portuguese, in French as well, because I feel like I'm killing two birds with one stone. And I feel like I'm also studying whilst I'm relaxing and enjoying myself listening to music. But sometimes, if I get around to it, if I have the time to do it every week, I'll check out this Discover playlist and just listen to the first minute and see if it's my kind of thing or not. And if I do like it, then I'll listen a couple more times. And I think usually the third or fourth time that you listen to a song, that's when you know, like, okay, yeah, this is my thing. I like this song. I'll add it to another playlist. Or on the other hand, you might think, like, actually, it's not really my vibe. It's not really my thing. So yeah, Spotify helps me to discover new music. How about you?
Well, I'm a guitarist and I use a looper. So it's a little bit specialized, not as much as it was when I first started using a looper pedal. That's where you play a little bit of the music and then it plays it back and you play over that, and then you plays back and you play over that. Ed Sheeran's probably the most famous looper artist in the world. And so because of that, I'm always looking for ideas for songs that I can loop. So a bit like what you've said with Spotify, but using YouTube, I'll type in looper song and one will come up and I'll listen to it and think, oh, I don't really like that. But down the side, the algorithm comes in and says, oh, if you listen to this person looping, you might like this. Or you have your favorite artist and, you listen for their latest thing and think, oh, let me listen. Oh, I see how he's done that. And then I'll practice that until I can do it. Nowhere near as well, but that's that's usually the only new music that I listen to because I'm like you, listen to old bangers.
Clay. By the way, a little bit of English teacher mode, given that I mentioned a banger, because a banger has a few different meanings. A banger can be, in this case, a great song. Like, oh yeah, that's a banger, that's a tune. But it also means sausages, because one of the most famous dishes in English cuisine is bangers and mash, which is sausages with gravy and mashed potato. But not only that, a banger, an old banger, could also refer to an old car that's a bit run down. It's like, oh yeah, my uncle gave me this old banger for my 17th birthday. So I started using that car. So banger has
Is that
three
firework?
different,
Lewis, firework?
your favorite, of course. So bangers can also be fireworks. Maybe there's another meaning as well, but hey, that's four
There's a
already
place in Wales, there's a town in Wales called Bangor.
with an O instead of an E, right?
That's right. It's pronounced the same.
Exactly. Yeah, perfect. So yeah, a banger. Sausages, old car, fireworks, or a great tune, a great song. Awesome. All right, next question. Let me share my screen again. And this one is over to you. Let's see if it's a little bit more light-hearted than the last one. Maybe not too light-hearted, but it's quite an interesting one. So, Steve, which famous people living today do you think might still be remembered in 100 years? And let's think about people that will be remembered for the right reasons.
Okay. Because there are two, isn't there? It can be infamous. You can be remembered for the wrong reasons, so you become infamous. Thinking about people who'd be remembered for the right reasons. What a great question.
That's a toughie, a tough question.
Yeah, it is really, isn't it? I don't think we revere. I don't think we look up to people in the same way as perhaps in the past. There's not many statues go up to people these days. So our heroes tend to be stars, music stars or movie stars or TV stars. We look up to them in the same way that perhaps 50, 100 years ago, people looked up to famous soldiers or world leaders. There was a statue went up to Margaret Thatcher, who was the first woman Prime Minister of the UK. I don't know, maybe 20, 30 years ago. And it was a big deal because we don't do that anymore. We don't put up that type of statues. So I reach into my brain and I can only think of stars of the silver screen, famous actors. Is there famous writers these days that might be remembered? Where's our Charles Dickens or our Shakespeare? No. I'm genuinely struggling on this one, which is a terrible thing, isn't it? I'm
Uh-huh.
genuinely struggling to think of someone. Perhaps a sporting hero, maybe.
That's the thing. I
Um,
think maybe not remembered by everybody, but in sports, like I'm wearing a Leeds United top today.
yeah.
And it is true that if you follow a football team or similar, then within these groups, communities, they will revere ex players and kind of pay homage to them to try to remember them. So, for example, I could think that we have famous football players for Leeds United who won the championship in 1992, and then we've been remembering them in the last few years as
Who?
they've been. I mean, for Leeds, we've got, for example, I think we're making a statue for Howard Wilkinson, who was the manager who won the league for us. And
Is
then
he dead? Is he still alive? Howard
he's still
Wilkinson.
alive, but they're making
Is
some
he? Oh,
kind of,
bless it.
yeah, he's still alive,
Lovely.
but I don't think he's doing very well. And
Right.
there are other players from before then as well who have been passing away recently. And the club have been saying that they would like to do something special for them and maybe build statues for them as well. So I think within each community and niche and industry, certain people can be remembered. But on
Mm.
a wider scale, I can only really think about the most famous people, like the Queen, for example, royalty. And then
She's dead.
yeah.
question
but
was
still.
who's alive now. And yeah, King Charles will be remembered by historians. Will he be remembered in the same way as the late Queen? Probably not. I think we live in an age of idols, like people from the the world of the arts. If I was to put my money on one person, I'd say in 100 years' time, most people will know Steven Spielberg. And
Right.
after that, I'm struggling for one who's alive now. Elvis Presley will be long remembered. The Beatles as a group, although there's only two of them left still alive, will be remembered in 100 years. There is no doubt about that. Um, but Neil Armstrong, first man on the moon, has died. Um, there's scientists who are saving lives. But do we know their names? Christian Barnard, the first man in South Africa, the first man in the world who did a heart transplant, he's dead. I'm struggling to think of someone who's alive today that's actually in the news for the right reasons. And that's a sad indictment on the world that we live in now.
But no, I agree. It's a shame that people are more famous for the wrong reasons than they are for the right reasons. And I think that's just the fact that in human nature, maybe we're more attracted to bad news than we are good news. Maybe that's the reason. And I'm sure there will be artists, athletes, politicians, historians, authors who will be remembered. But right now, I'm like you. I'm stumped. I can't think of exactly who will be the most remembered people.
Yeah. I think it's you, Lewis. I think you'll be remembered in 100 years.
I mean, I'm not sure how I'd feel about that. I highly doubt it. I highly doubt it. I'd have to achieve some amazing things for that to happen. Now, let's finish off with one final question. So I'll share my
Okay.
screen again.
So this
And
one's for you.
this one is for me.
Oh, okay. How do you get your news?
Hey, a nice, simple question. And, well, to be honest, I get a lot of my news when I'm working and I'm maybe editing videos or I'm between classes. I've got my laptop in front of me. So my go-to news website and provider is simply the BBC. So I'll usually check the BBC every morning or afternoon just to see what the headlines are and see what's going on at the moment. And I'd recommend people do this to practice their English as well, just to check regularly BBC News, because I think in general, it's quite a trustworthy and reliable source of information. And other than that, I'd say podcasts, because I listen to different podcasts about so many different things. And I like to stay informed, to stay up to date, including in other languages. So again, I'm killing two birds with one stone by listening to a news in Spanish, listening to a news in French. Whether I pay attention and actually memorize new vocabulary from it is another debate. But usually I'll make the first effort by trying to listen to a daily news bulletin from a Spanish news provider or a French news provider. So that's it overall.
Hmm.
How about you, Steve?
I can easily tell you where I don't do. I never read newspapers.
Me neither.
Someone once said that if you look at a newspaper and the top right-hand corner is the date, the day's date, and that's the only true thing that you're going to see in that newspaper. And I think there's a lot of truth in that. So I have no real time for newspapers. If there's a big news story, a war starts, or there is something that's that gets all the headlines, then I'll flick between the BBC News and Sky News to get the two different perspectives on it. And I'll flip between one and the other on one news cycle to see how they react to the different stories. But on a day-to-day, if it's just like today, we've just been talking about a big news story, but that news story was, it's happened days ago now. So it's the aftermath. So that urgency isn't there for me to watch that news. So I do go on Twitter, and so that's probably where I pick up most of my news. Or what do they call it now? X.
Exactly.
I'm not promoting that in any way. I'm just saying, I'm never very far from my iPad, and I'll just glance down, go into the news thing, and see what's there and what's going on in the world. But unless there's a headline grabbing story going on somewhere, I tend to put my head in the sand.
Quick. I mean, sometimes it's better just to not focus on it, because the news can sometimes get you down. It can make you a little bit depressed at the moment. So right now, there are days when I'm deliberately not going on the news because I'm like, I don't want to know. Unless something changes for the better, there's no point entering in this vicious cycle of seeing the same things over and over again, to be honest.
Yeah. No, I'm not sure we're right, but equally, I'm not sure we're wrong with that either. I shouldn't put my head in the sand, but like you said, it does get you down sometimes. Bad news sells. And so both on TV and in the press, bad news sells. You want your post on Twitter to do well, say how bad something is. You don't say how good something is. It's just human nature, and it's sad.
Human nature. Well,
That's a horrible thing to finish on. No, don't finish on that. Finish on something happy. All you need is love. There you go. The first TV to ever be broadcast around the world was the Beatles pop group singing All You Need Is Love, the very first in history to be beamed around the world. There you go. That's a nice one to finish on.
There we go. All you need is love, everybody. And I can go a step further, because I used to, when I was teaching classes, I'd finish or start with a bad dad joke. So given that the nature of these random questions have been quite serious, and hopefully it doesn't get you down, and next time we get together, we're going to only discuss lots of love and happy things. But a quick dad joke to maybe put a smile on your face. Steve, you ready?
Go on.
Steve is absolutely buzzing about the prospect of hearing this dad joke. So, how do you organize a party in space?
It's going to be tough because there's no atmosphere, is there?
How do you organize a party in space?
It's tough because there's no atmosphere.
That's good. That's good. But no, you plan it. You plan it.
Oh, I liked mine better. Come on.
Well, there we go. 2 jokes for the price of 1. There's no atmosphere, so it's tough to organize a party in space. And if you do want to organize a party in space, you plan it. You plan it. So thank you, everybody, for watching, listening. Hope you enjoyed this conversation. Hope you found it useful. And if you have any doubts about the vocabulary that we used in this conversation, let us know in the comments. Thanks again, Steve, for joining. We'll be back in a few weeks for another chit-chat on a lighter note. So yeah, we'll see you there. Thank you, Steve.
Always a pleasure, mate. Bye-bye, everyone. Take care.
The pleasure's all mine. Bye.